I've been I've been teaching here for about 2 years now, and I think this is the third time that I've chosen as a topic this question: What is reality? It seems to be a real crowd pleaser, or a real conundrum, which is odd, isn't it? I was inspired to do this coming out of a talk that John and Adam shared here. There was a question somebody from the Zoom world asked, what is the world? That was her question. What's the world? So it fell to Adam to field that one. And he went right to the essence. He said something on the order of, it's whatever you make it, or what you, uh, it's what your thoughts create. So I love that because it goes right to the nub of it. And I thought that's worthy of unpacking a little bit. So the word for world in Sanskrit, and I think in Pali as well, it's the same word, is dhatu. And so if we want to first orient ourselves according to the Dharma, we can appreciate that we, most of the time, are in something called the kama dhatu. Kama is a word for passion. This is our world. This is our reality. Day in and day out, we live in an impassioned world, governed by what we like and what we don't like, what we're passionate about, what we're passionate about in a negative way, and also what we don't give a darn about, lack thereof. And it's in this reality, in this world, that we basically spend our entire lives. And if we accept the cosmology, psychology of the Dharma, we've been at this for uncountable lifetimes in this world, where there's always something that seems to be out there that attracts us or bothers us, to which we're reacting. We're going here and there, chasing this, running from that, trying to just ignore the other thing, caught up in the objects of our perception, of our awareness. So we say we live in dualistic vision. There seems to be a reality out there that's separate from the reactor in here. All kind of things turn me on and piss me off, and or I don't care about. There seems to be this clear divide between me and you, between self and world and other, right? Sure seems that way. Only it's miserable. Suffering is the signature term there, that we chase the things we want, we run from the things we don't, and either way we're frustrated. Even when we get what we want, it doesn't last. Or we have to keep it, try to keep it. In which case we're in tension again. Not settled, not happy, really. Kama dhatu. So, being honest with ourselves, having a bit of courage as well, we decide we're going to deal with that rather than deal with the stuff out there. We decide we're going to focus on our reaction in here. And so we meditate. Rather than going out, we come in. So this practice that we just did a few minutes ago, mindfulness practice essentially, is a way of coming in. We don't want to be so miserable. So pursuing this and running from that and all of the rest of reactive mind, emotional reactions, mental fixations, we want to pull that in, right? So it's kind of like this. Normally we're like that, but meditation, we pull it in. We can pull it in kind of far. And then we get quieter, right? Things calm down. We're more settled, less upset, more collected. Something like this we get when we go on vacations as well. Take a break. And it works, unless we have a fraught vacation, which happens more than we like. But if it goes well, we had a good time. So we meditate, we go on vacation, then we stop meditating, we come back from vacation, and what happens? This goes into this. So we notice that, and we think, okay, well, that was good, but it didn't last. So we meditate more consistently. Maybe we adopt a daily practice. Maybe we go on retreat. Pretty wise to do this. So we go on retreat, and usually it takes a conducive circumstance like retreat to get this to go more quiet, settled, peaceful, all those tensions relax. We just did a retreat in November, and Marcia was managing it, and she was talking about it, helping me to get it organized. And was saying, what it's a short retreat. It usually takes a few days to settle down, right? Because it does. But then after a few days, we get really good. So we're getting really into ourselves. And now our concentration is strong, and we move to a different kind of world. We're not so strung out. We're not so chasing things out there. We're more in here. So the world we get into is something that's called rupa dhatu. And then there's also arupa dhatu, form, realm, and formless. These have to do with inner realities, inner spaces where we're collected, the mind's collected. And as the mind settles, if you've meditated for a while, you know this yourself. Everything gets more and more peaceful, and we get more and more at peace. Bliss is more likely to arise. Settledness is more, and calmness is more pervasive. Clarity increases. So in these other dhatus, meditation dhatus, which are also, they can also be understood as heaven realms because they're at peace. Just like in other traditions as well, people speak of heaven. Heaven is really good. Heaven is where it's chill. No war in heaven, no conflicts in heaven. Just like when the mind gets really settled into this concentration states, we get at peace and we get clear, and also that we can see farther because we're not so preoccupied with our thoughts. So we have greater ordinary clarity, but also then these qualities of clairvoyance, clairaudience, being able to be in touch with things normally that we just don't see because we're all focused on our shtick, on our projects, on our intentions. All of this so-called psychic powers become more available. These are the three main ones: bliss, clarity, and non-thought, quiet mind. So this comes into this, and this captures it, just like this. A different kind of world, a different dhatu. But it only lasts as long as we practice. Once we stop practicing, we get up off the cushion, retreat's over. Again, all these three realms, and they're often referred like this, the three realms or the three worlds, are all within dualistic vision, because even this requires meditative intention. We're doing something. And so when we relax our doing, the doors, the floodgates open again. Stuff comes up from the inside, stuff from the outside bothers us again. Right? That's how it goes. There's still a boundary between me and my experience. So something else is called for. But it's nothing we can do. Doing gets us to a really good place. Doing gets us to a very good place. So we don't want to disparage the effort of meditating. This beats the heck out of this. Blah, 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 blah. Right? But the challenge is to go beyond management, beyond micromanaging our experience, trying to improve it, trying to improve ourselves. So all these 2 years, I've been really like just leaning over, just trying to really honor the fact that it is so important to manage our system. If it's out of control, we need to get that puppy under control. It really helps to get here. Once here, however, we have to now go here. We take that to here. This is shamatha meditation. technically speaking. Then we want to do this. So all we're doing, all of this is like putting on glasses so we can see better. And we move to this. This is not glasses. This is a mirror. And now we can, technically, we can speak of vipassana. But there's nothing to be done here. We have to open. Relax further. Instead of controlling the mind by focusing on objects, even very subtle objects, even very subtle, lovely mind states like bliss, and then even beyond bliss, these jhanic states, these arupa, arupa dhatu, these are jhanic states that we're talking about, get so subtle that pretty soon you're like not even a meditator, just just lovely. And very often people think that is enlightenment. No, it's sweet, but it's heaven, and it will pass because we haven't integrated our openness with reality, not the reality out there, but the reality that allows for there allows it, it makes it possible for there to be an out there, which is our awareness. So we need to tune into our mirror-like awareness. In which anything can arise from the outside or the inside, but it affects us in the same way that images affect a mirror, which is not at all. Ugly images don't injure the mirror. Beautiful images don't improve the mirror. The mirror of awareness doesn't change. So there's mindfulness of objects, and then mindfulness of mind, where we look into the looker. So maybe you've done this experiment, this exercise of looking to try to find yourself. Anyone taking a look at that, right? When you look into that, what do you find? Isn't that wild? Because it seems like everything like I am really solid. But when I look into, I can't find me, the looker. Some people, I've done this exercise in like dyads many times, and some people will say, "Oh, I'm like in my heart." People will point in their chest somewhere, like here. Say, okay, well, who knows that? Well, something or other. Okay, well, who knows that that knows that that knows the other thing. So often then people get to the point where don't know. Maybe I can't find an inside. So in the Dharma, there's we say no self. So if we can go that far and realize we can't put our finger on the self or on the knower, then we can take another step. And then we can ask something on the order of, where aren't I? The first step is like basic Buddhism, Theravada style. The second question, now we're at the more traditional Mahayana level, where we can't say we exist and we can't say we don't exist. In tuning into that, incomprehensible truth, just mind blowing recognition, if we can allow ourselves to have it, if we can allow for our mind to be blown, then we enter another world, another dhatu. It's called the Dharma dhatu. Dharma in the sense of everything that is. We can't say there's an inside or an outside, a center or a periphery. Awareness doesn't have limits. When we settle, when we see and then settle into awareness, rather than those things we're aware of, which are arising all the time anyway, that never stops. Things arise and pass, but awareness doesn't arise and doesn't pass, has no beginning, has no end, right? Or can you find an end to awareness? An end, it's the metaphor is space. Awareness, the mind, is like space. There's nothing beyond space. This is the mind. When we look and say, who's aware? We find ourselves in an all-inclusive space. We can't say what it is, and we can't deny that everything exists. Things happen. Beyond the mind. And this, I think, is the key problem. It is so hard for us to drop our shields, to drop wanting to have our thumb on the scale, wanting to know, wanting to know. to have the upper hand somehow, rather than to drop, let go, and attune to existence as it is. Dharma Dhatu, beyond insides and outsides, all encompassing. Things exist, but they can't be found. Like the Buddha said, this existence is like a rainbow, a dream, a bubble in water, a star at dawn, a reflection in a mirror, an echo, a mirage. It's there, but not as we think it is. Not solid, not fixed, nothing to get worked up about. Reality is essentially unreal. And yet exists. This can't be understood. No way. It can only be accessed, tuned into. Price of admission is letting go. Okay. So if anybody needs a stretch, now would be the time.
Hi, Ken, it's Robin. For the Zoomers, when should we come back if we need a break?
Oh, come back whenever you feel like it. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Maybe say 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
We'll open it to questions, quietude, quandaries, whatever
Yeah,
you like.
yeah. Again, this is Robin. Oh, and I will turn on the screens for you guys. Um, if anyone on Zoom has a question, go ahead and use that little hand icon and we'll call on you. Otherwise, Allison will be taking in-person questions. Kai has a question on Zoom. Kai, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Ken. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to thank you for your talk. I don't have a specific question, or maybe I have too many specific questions, but for tonight, I just wanted to say thank you. It's nice to see you and nice to see everyone. Now I'll try to figure out how to take this hand back down. Thank you.
Hi, Kai.
Anyone in the meditation hall have a question or comment? Looks like Allison's walking over to someone.
Oh, Ken,
Douglas.
this reality existing and non-existing seems a bit vague. And then we have our awareness that doesn't change, doesn't have definition, doesn't have a seat or a center. How can we get comfortable with this?
Vague. Is it?
The reality?
To the mind. Vague to the mind, right? But otherwise, it's something that's here. And then the question becomes how to get comfortable being here with something that's confounding, nonsensical, or vague to the mind. So this is where, again, I want to respect there's in general two paths: gradual, progressive, step by step, and non-gradual, immediate, just now. One is preparatory. The other one is ecstatic. Indescribable. Instantaneous. Naked. Undefended. Hence vulnerable. How do we get used to that? So there's different practices depending on if we're doing a progressive path or a sudden and immediate, non-gradual. And it's totally cool to do both. In fact, I don't know anybody who only does the non-gradual, because we just have too many samskaras, too much holding. We have too much unresolved trauma. We have too much stuff we have to digest. And so we go we go with what the mind does understand. We reflect, we work on ourselves, we try to loosen what we can loosen. And there's a lot to understand about the Dharma, about our own selves, right? Like some of stuff, some of our deeper holdings are really hard to access because often they get laid down before we even have words. Really, it can happen very early, or we could suffer such grievous trauma that the system, the circuit breaker just flips just for self-preservation. And we just get that stuff out of the way. So unlocking that takes a lot of dexterity where it helps to understand with our mind intellectually and in concepts what happened to me. Why am I the way I am when I don't, it's not really working and I can't help it. There's a lot to learn outside in the Dharma and inside in our own system as we're slowly purifying our fixations and our compulsions. From the absolute perspective, non-gradual perspective, there's just so much we don't have to learn. And we don't have to understand. Because this high path, this heart path, essential path, has no content awareness. We're not worried about the content of awareness. We're worried about the field which allows for the content to come and go. And so, for those who are drawn to the direct path, because time is passing, we have to get used to not knowing, to not having answers, to not having to have answers. Getting more used to being open, empty, unfettered. And it is exactly, the challenge is exactly as you say. It's one of getting comfortable with, getting used to, getting familiar with, befriending. Befriending what? What is awareness? What is it? Can it be seen, felt, conceived of? Can you put awareness inside of a concept? Or is it rather that concepts, like bubbles, arise in the field of awareness, coming and going? It's a different locus, being there or here. How do you do it? It can't be done. That's the point. That's the secret point the Buddha felt he couldn't share. It wouldn't make any sense to anybody. It's about being, not doing, non-doing. Microphone. Marie.
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's Marie. Um, is there an element of developmental stages with spirituality? Because my 24-year-old son just returned to my home. And you know, how we're all good mirrors for each other. He reminds me of, yes, when I was younger, I was more like he is now. I always thought of you kind of muscle your way through things initially until you gain experience, wisdom. I understand this with latter stages of life. Whereas if I share concepts like this with him, he needs goals. He needs concrete, you know, purpose, focus, vision. Nothing, you know, anything said about um let it go, you know, be here now, go with the flow, nada, with none of that, you
Oh,
know. I mean, so I when I hear this, and it's great that he's back right now because it brings this question up, which I've had in the past too, is, you know, like Maslow, you know, it just seems like, you know, developmental, you know, most of us probably have like muscled through career, blah, 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 to get to here, you know, and ready to sit back more, let go and go, you know, I don't know.
so nada. You're not confused on that point. It doesn't make sense to him. He's at a different place.
Mhm.
So this is what's it's so important. There are these paths, but we need to what each step needs to be sure for us. Everyone's path is unique. Nobody can go can go somebody else's path. The Buddha was well aware of that, and this was his final blessing, his final gift. He says, "I've shown you the path, but you have to work out your own liberation." And so we need to be honest with our capacity. Where are we? What do we need? This is what I ask myself is what's good for me? What's good for me? Really good. And then you do that thing. It'll be various for various people. The good news is that there is something, it's said there's 10,800 Dharma doors. And even though there's all those Dharma doors, still how we walk through them and where we go, we have to we have to see which way the wind blows for us and neither overestimate ourselves. Like you might, be overestimating him. He's so young, right? 24? Boy. Um, or underestimating ourselves. So this is why I'm emboldened to teach this direct path, the direct stuff here, because I have come to the conclusion that even though we say, and it's true, we live in an age of narcissism. The boomers, and then there's the millennials, and now Gen Z on TikTok, and oh boy, about me. Yeah, okay, we live in an age of narcissism, but that's not the biggest problem. It's not that we feel we're such hot stuff. Underneath that, I've come to the conclusion we harbor a sense that we're just not enough. we're flawed, something wrong with me. That's back of the ego bit. So that's where the capacity to underestimate ourselves. We could not think, oh, that path is too high for me. Well, maybe it is. There's only one way you're going to find out. So, like that, Eric. Eric has a question. Or
We should
we're calling Eric. We're on Eric now, right? Or are we gone to Bear, man? Go for Bear, I say. Standing in rolling waters.
buddy in the zoo audience who wants to have a question answered, please put your hand up.
You're gonna need to put that yellow hand so we can see it clearly, the Zoom people, like Kai did.
You mentioned that that talk with John and Adam and that question that was posed. And I remember that question, I wrote it. It was one of the paper questions. And it was reference to a question that was directed directly to the Buddha. What is the world? And he responded, the world is burning. In other words, everything in the world is on fire, and if we grab it, it will burn us. And then one of the other questions was, what is Nibbana? That's the fire that we have to go through in this world that to cook all the ingredients and then being removed from that fire, removed from the flame. And it seems like both, kind of have to happen in an order. There has to be the world to cook all these ingredients so that a good food is prepared, which can't be useful until it's removed from the flame.
There's no way around it.
Right. It's part of the whole deal. So I guess the sooner for me that I get over the world and being burned by it, then it can become nutrients. What do you think?
Well, that's the path. I mean, this is what's so wonderful about the Dharma, that Buddha set the example. He went from this totally to this. And he recognized it didn't work. That's when he left the yogis he was hanging with up in the cave and the restrictions, trying to purify himself in so many ways, and mind, the body as well, eating little and so forth, renunciations. And he sat under the tree. And this thing, I've said it a few times, it's just, I love saying it because it's so great and it gets overlooked. What did he do when he sat under the tree? Well, first of all, he got a good, cushy seat of kusha grass, sat on kusha grass under a sheltering tree, having had a nourishing meal. And then, since he was already here, his mind was one pointed. Then it was like, bring it. He walked into the fire, where the fire actually came to him, because that's how it happens. There's not this ambitious, pushy, make it happen. That's not, it doesn't really work that way. Ambition, you realize ambition itself is a flame. So you let it come, as he did, sitting under the tree. So the fire comes the kama dhatu. We're in the kama dhatu, so we have to be here. There's no trying to escape to get to a peaceful place isn't going to really work. It'll work for a short time, but then time it's in time. Only when we digest or holding on to time or trying to push it, trying to manage it, do we really get free. That's Nibbana is the end of the cessation of ambition, of intention, of compulsion. And then being able to relax. We realize we're relaxing in samsara. It's samsara that is nibbana. Nibbana is no, it's not over there. It's not outside of the kama dhatu somewhere. If we could just get there, it's right here in the mid names, in the thick of it. Emptiness is form. Samsara is nirvana. But only to the extent that we've totally given ourselves, totally integrated, settled into the unsettledness of the flux. Then the world, which the Buddha didn't speak to at that point in time, only later, it becomes the Dharma Dhatu, the Dharma world, Dharma reality, where nothing's excluded and nothing's included in the sense of held onto. Nothing's grasped onto, nothing's pushed away. And we are now in tune with our nature, the nature of awareness. No difference. But we do have to, in order to let go of something, we have to be viscerally present to the fact that we're holding on to it. The flames. Being viscerally present to how we're holding on to whatever it is we're holding on to. Then we can let go. But if we're not viscerally present, then what are we going to let go of? It's a paradox. Robin, I've lost the Zoom screen. If I need to know anything about it, I don't know a thing about it anymore.
We're coming up to time, but Meryl has her question or her hand raised.
Right. Well, Vivian had one too. I think we've gone too long.
Mhm.
Oh, well.
So maybe we could just do
Meryl's? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mostly kind of had a comment. I was trying to keep in my notes something that you said that I really appreciated. We can see that things also happen outside the mind. And that really just, I don't know, I just could see the subtleness of what you're describing all the time of how you teach, you know, I can't, and I can't put it into words either. And I could not even teach the way you teach, but the subtleness of everything is so interesting. And also just listening to Marie talk about her son, because I have a 16-year-old, and talking about where he's at or where my 16-year-old's at. And and talking to my brain spotting therapist, who also has some Buddhism in his background, saying to me today, well, you don't know this, do you? You don't know what's going to happen. These are just, it's just interesting to hear your talk and all of these things coming about. And talking about, thinking you're not enough or it's going to be too much, and having this experience of having just this total collapse, almost 2 years ago, for a whole year where I just was collapsed, couldn't even work. And then now going actually through some really hard stuff, but watching somehow the universe kind of go, okay, I can't explain it because that'll take too long, but okay, so you're more ready now. So we're going to offer you this. This will help. And then my hands out and I'm taking it, and I'm not all the way back on track. I'm feeling pretty stretched thin right now, but at the same time, I'm still doing more than I could even have thought that I've been doing by accident the last 4 weeks. So it's just interesting. It's all very on a soul level, on a human level, on whatever this reality or non-reality is. So thank you for your talks as always.
You're welcome, Meryl. Thank you. So I think we'll have to end. We'll have to end here. And so let's just by the merit of our coming together here, may we clarify our channels just a little bit more in order to be a better help to others. May ourselves and all beings be free of attachment, aversion, and indifference, and remain easy in great equanimity, loving kindness, sympathetic joy, and real compassion. May all beings everywhere be free.